Hello and welcome back to Housewives with Heather. I'm Heather. We are going to continue on with season 1, but before we get started, if you haven't watched my video about the first episode of season 1, I will leave that in the description. Go and watch that one before you watch this one so that you can understand what is going on. But yeah, thanks for tuning in and let's get into it. Episode 2 opens with a kind of montage of Joe and Slade and Vicki and Jeana all talking about the rabbits in Kodo. They have a big rabbit problem. The rabbits come and tear up their lawn. And, their flowers are all destroyed because of these rabbits. Shane, aka Elmer Fudd, who's apparently the rabbit guy in Kodo because people found out he hunted. He killed rabbits in their yard. He's going through their little gun closet. America.
Point him down. Make sure you carry him down when you're walking so you don't shoot each other in the back if you trip. Shane. You drop baseball sometimes. Okay?
I took a 40-hour class on this. I think it'll be okay.
Anyway, Shane goes over to Vicki's house to help her kill the rabbits. And I don't like this scene because the rabbits are really fucking cute. And as a notorious animal lover and famously a former part-time vegan, I just don't like it. So, yeah. I guess he's like shooting them with it's like a pellet gun. I don't get it. I don't get it. Then we see my best friend in the whole world, Slade Smiley.
When someone looks at me, they probably think I got it going on. They know I live in Coto de Casa. It's either borderline movie star, but they're not quite sure.
So we see literally fucking Patrick Bateman doing his morning routine, and he says, people probably look at me and think I got it going on, which is not something I've ever thought when I looked at you. Thank you. It has to be a reference because he's literally doing one of those like gel peel-off masks in the mirror, but like really sloppily. But again, I would buy that this is just his morning routine because he is American Psycho. To me. But he's saying he has a really important meeting today. Like, I'm literally so brave and so kind for sitting through Slade Smiley's bullshit so I can recap it for everybody. Thank you. Oh, Miss Garbagecandy, you're so kind. Anyways, so Slade is pairing his watches with his outfits, doing his little morning routine, and we see Joe come down the stairs, and she basically says the same thing she said last episode, which is like, yeah, when I used to work, I would be up at 6:30 in the morning. I'd be going to work. I'd be having, shit to do during the day, but like, it's kind of hard to wake up early when, what am I waking up early for?
Hey Kimberly, this is Joe. I was just calling to say it was really nice to meet you the other day, and definitely let's get together and play tennis. Alrighty, thanks a lot. Bye.
So Vicki is taking Brianna and all her cheer friends on a Mexican cruise. Yes, God. And this is the first we see of Vicki, who is somebody who not only works hard but plays hard as well. Yes, God. And Brianna's excited because the drinking age is 18, so she can have a little Corona with her friends. Yeah, and Vicki just wants to treat them. She really needs a break from work, and she's excited because Lauri can hold down the fort a little bit for her. And even Brianna's a little gagged at Vicki on this trip. She's like, I was not expecting my mom to let loose like this. I thought she was going to be really controlling like she always is. And we see a montage of Vicki wearing a balloon hat and just being a silly, goofy queen like she is. Yeah, and she's telling Brianna, she's like, lick it, suck it, slam it, or whatever, but a tequila shot, like they're doing shots. She's having fun. And yeah, she definitely is somebody who works very hard and plays very hard. Oh, Miss Vicki Gunvalson, the queen you are. It's funny because they cut to Don, Vicki's husband, and Michael, and they're sitting at home eating like Raisin Bran or something, just silently being like, so what do you think Mom and Brianna are doing? And then we cut back to them having like a fucking blast. I need to go on vacation with them. I need to go on a Mexican cruise with Vicki. But then we see, even while Vicki is like drunk and having a blast, she's still Vicki at the end of the day.
So I am a little bit overprotective.
Oh, you watch out for those girls! You understand? Your ass is mine if they're in trouble, okay? You're in big shit if something happens to them.
So while Vicki's having the time of her life in Mexico, Lauri's back at the office again. She's holding down the fort with Ashley. And in my notes, I probably wrote the term SpongeBob in Silent Hill like 50 times. And here we see Lauri's first SpongeBob in Silent Hill moment. Lauri gets a call from the school that Josh is in trouble and the police are involved. So she has to leave work. And Ashley says, she's like, you know, growing up, I was never the problem child. It was always my brother my parents were worried about. And Lauri even said in the previous episode that Josh took their divorce really hard. So Lauri's very stressed and frazzled because, first of all, Vicki left her alone at the office. Now she has to go, and now she has to leave Ashley alone. And Ashley's like, Mom, you can't leave me alone at the office. And she's like, can you be a little bit sympathetic? Your brother is getting fucking arrested. So goodbye.
All right, can you handle everything right now? Ashley, I need your help.
I'm trying
to. I don't need attitude right now, Ashley. You should just be sympathetic. I'm trying to sit here and do my job and raise Josh, who's not easy to do.
And then we get a very kind of nothing burger scene from Kimberly, because in my notes I wrote a section about Kimberly, and then I wrote nothing. But and I just rewatched it, and yes, it was a very nothing burger scene. I feel bad for not really recapping it, but Kimberly and her family go shopping for a car. Like, that's it.
All the safety canopy, every safety item you've got. So I'm still far enough from the airbag.
Right.
Okay. I can turn the volume down.
Turn the volume down. You can switch between CD, DVD.
Oh, I like that.
So then we see my dear good friend Slade Smiley going to his very important meeting in his big ass Hummer. So Slade is the assistant vice president of a title insurance company. A phrase I'm not even kidding you. In my research, watching, note-taking of these episodes, the amount of times where I'm like, I don't know what he does for work. Because for me, personally, number one, I don't like him and I don't care about him. And number two, unless your job title is the description of your job, or your job is literally the coolest fucking thing I've ever heard, for some reason, it goes in one ear and out the other with me. If it's a whole bunch of fucking word salad, oh, I work for a title, I'm literally not going to remember what it is. I will never, ever remember what it is. I'm sorry. To any of my friends who might be watching this who have desk jobs, I'm sorry. I'm never going to remember what it is you do.
I'm the assistant vice president with the title insurance company.
I'm Slade Smiley with United Title. I have an appointment with Mr. McAwee.
We assist mortgage professionals and real estate agents with the closing of their transactions.
Yay. Also, something that I feel like I will mention again is the thing about the show, the way they talk about money and the way they talk about jobs in certain industries is very interesting and compelling when you consider the like Majora's Mask moon that is looming over the economy pre, 2008. So just, yeah, let's keep that in mind. So Slade is meeting with this guy, Brent. If I call him Brett by accident, I'm sorry. But I love this scene for two reasons. Number one, there's a lot to unpack here. Number two, Slade just looks like such a fucking loser. Such a loser. Because the guy says, he's like, so what are you doing here? Like, basically, what do you want? He's like, well, I was referred to you by Jeana Keough, who apparently is the person to know, which we can tell because she's very wealthy. He kind of immediately tries to, like, find common ground with him.
You're living out in Coda?
Yeah.
What development?
In the Estates.
In the States. Okay. I'm not too far from you. I'm in the Greens, near Jeana.
You're trying to impress someone, but you don't actually have the vernacular that you think you possess. And this guy is literally just not impressed. He's like, okay, you think you're a big shot because you live in fucking Coto de Casa? What do you want? Like, what the fuck do you want? And after that, the meeting just goes south very quickly. And it brings me such pleasure and such joy. But he's taking phone calls, he's taking personal calls, he's taking work calls, he's calling the secretary while Slade's trying to talk to him, he's drinking Red Bulls. He's just like, so what do you want? And Slade's like, well, I was thinking maybe like putting some ventures together and making you some money. And the guy's like, well, what do you have for me? I haven't heard anything. Like, why don't you come back here with something written up and an actual plan?
What were you talking about?
I would love to discuss maybe putting some ventures together with you that helps.
Hold on a second.
Sure.
Hey, Mira, set up an appointment with Jerry at 1:30, please. Hello? Tell him I want him done today. Tell him to hold on.
There is this kind of pecking order among even the elite, among the wealthy. To somebody like this, it's not impressive that you live in Coto. It's literally not impressive at all. It goes to show how much of Slade's, and maybe I'm reading too much into it, but it just goes to show how much of Slade's life and how he moves through the world is built around this perception of his wealth and his status that ultimately he does not possess. He does not have. I'm sorry, I really just hate Slade, and any Slade L is a W for me. So Slade's day flop Tina. So back at the Keough household, they're hanging out with their godfather / uncle / friend, and we hear Shane's first mention, weirdly, of many of people think I'm gay. just because I don't have a girlfriend. People think I'm gay. My dad's always asking me, oh, are you gay? And I genuinely can't tell if this is like a sign of the times or what. I think it is, but like it is going to come up a lot. Is like everybody thinks I'm gay.
All my friends that have girlfriends, they're miserable all the time. They're always in arguments and they're yagging and chuckling. I hate it. I don't even like being around them when they're together. So
their family friend, they're talking about going on a trip to Mexico, and Shane's like, I'm gonna get wasted in Mexico, and Jeana's like, no, you're not. And he's like, well, the drinking age is 18. She's like, I don't give a fuck if the drinking age is 10. Like, wasted.
We're getting wasted.
I don't care if the drinking age is 10. It doesn't mean that you change your morals because you leave the country. Where? Cheers to soda.
Shane getting wasted.
So back to Lauri. Lauri basically says, she's like, of all the impacts of the divorce and all the changes in my life, ultimately the biggest thing is how it affected my kids. I'm not really happy about that. And what happened with Josh at school was the teacher thought that they saw drugs in Josh's hand, and because he'd been in so much trouble before, they called the police, and now he's in juvenile hall, which is juvie. I had to Google it. I don't know. I've never heard the term juvenile hall. I always heard of it as like juvenile detention center. So Lauri says, she's like, in our marriage, like there was a lot of dishonesty and a lot of fighting basically since Josh was born.
One of my first memories is probably when I was about 3 or 4, an argument between them, and then I just remember hearing plates and stuff being smashed around, and I remember screams and stuff, and then the cops were there. It's pretty sad.
Also, I know this is like so inappropriate and offside, but in his little confessional, he has the Frou Frou album as his, what's the word? Computer wallpaper. I see you, taste. And Lauri says, she's like, during this time, like my kids were seeing sides of our marriage that ultimately they probably shouldn't have been seeing. Like Josh would come home from school and I'd be in bed crying because of everything that was happening. Like her life was just kind of in shambles, even though they had all this nice stuff. They had this nice house. They had cleaning ladies. They had all this stuff. Everything sucked.
And I heard a really loud fall. It was Joshua, and he had been drinking. He literally passed out on the stairwell. I didn't know if he was dead or what. So I took him into a hospital and tried to work through that problem, but that was just the first of many from there on out.
And Josh says, he's like, I was really depressed and angry, and I was getting in a lot of trouble at school, and that's part of why they called the police when he was having issues even in this current moment in the show, is because of his issues that he'd had in the past, because he was a troublemaker and a bully and all of this stuff that they didn't know what was going to happen. And again, even with all the counseling and stuff, like Josh, then he started smoking pot, if you will, which again, because of the time, like that saying I started smoking pot is a very different connotation then than it is even now. And they went to drug counseling and all of this stuff. And even every time he got better, it kind of seemed like he was stuck in this loop of then it would start up again, and then he would go back to getting in trouble and all of this stuff, which is why he's now in juvenile hall, because there was kind of no more free passes, no more second chances, which again is just really sad. And then Lauri goes to visit Josh in juvenile hall, and she expresses just how much of a toll it's taking on her and how hard it is to like go to this environment and see your son in this environment. But she does feel confident that with all of this, that this is kind of the last line. After this, like, it's no more trouble, it's no more drugs. Like, this might be what he needs to get better. That's how Lauri feels about it, but it is just taking a huge toll on her. And I really feel bad for her. Like, right when, you know, things were kind of on the up, she's doing well at work, she's got this house, things are kind of on the down swing.
To me, this is just something that I never thought that we would ever be going through. Never thought that this is something that would affect our family.
Anyways, one thing about this show is they do flip-flop between tones. Like, you'll have something that's kind of just bleak, like Lauri going to visit her son in juvenile hall, and then we have, so Vicki's in the kitchen boiling hot dogs and lecturing her son about being an underachiever, and he says, he's like, you know, I went to the #1 party school in the country. I kind of had other stuff going on instead of going to class.
Mike, you know what, if you want to live a nice life and drive a nice car and do all what you want to do in life, you got to work. So Brianna's working, she kind of gets it.
I've had 4 jobs. This is Brianna's first job.
And it all didn't last very long, did they?
But it is, I'm not going to lie, it is kind of stressful to watch if you are somebody like me who is currently unemployed, that this kind of pre-recession Bush era upper middle class white family mentality that's like, the second you turn 18, like, you're on your own. Like, we're not supporting you anymore. Which is even weirder because they do have the resources to, but like, it's not for lack of money. Yeah, obviously, this is another thing that is kind of this sign of the times, but does stress me the out because I am currently unemployed. Thank you. Pause for applause. And Don does kind of put it a little less frantic than Vicki did, and he kind of explains it more as, we don't, like, living a life like this, we don't want our son to think that everything just comes on a silver platter. We want him to learn a work ethic, which to me was an explanation that resonated a lot more than Vicki being like, you need to get a job while she's cutting up some fucking hot dogs. Speaking of jobs, we're back with Slade and Joe, and he's telling Joe about the absolutely tankstagram meeting that he had. And he's saying, you know, the guy was kind of a dick. Like, if he wasn't worth billions of dollars, I would have walked out.
He goes like this. Completely looks away from me, and I kind of glance up at what he's doing. He's reading his emails on the 90-inch plasma that's hanging over my head. How rude.
And Slade's just generally pissed off about it because it is a huge opportunity. And I'm not about to sympathize with Slade. I'm sorry. I caught myself about to feel bad for him. No. You will not get me. You will not get me. Anyways, Joe's drinking a goblet of white wine, as usual. And we find out also that Slade's job is 100% commission-based. He has no salary. So, like, if he doesn't make sales, whatever, he does not make money. So it's like, I guess it's a pretty high-risk, high-reward job because he clearly lives well. And he says he has 7 figures. But, like, no salary? I don't know. Maybe that's how some of these jobs work, but that's pretty fucking crazy to me. Slade is not about to let this guy go. He's not about to give up on the potential deal he could close with this guy. So he comes up with this brilliant idea that he's like, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to run across this guy in Kodo, like catch him in the streets basically to kind of like, I guess, endear himself to him and kind of show like, oh, hey, like, people say we're alike. We say we got the same hair. Like, basically prove they have similar lifestyles and that I guess he can hang with the big dogs. Ultimately, just kind of a loser. I don't know.
I want to figure out a way to come across this guy somewhere in Kodo. When he's away from the office, he's maybe with his family. Maybe we could push his kid into the pool and I could save him from drowning. I don't know. There's got to be something that we can do.
There's something about him. It's like, to me, so much of this behavior reads as like, he just has something to prove. Like, he really has something to prove, whether it's to himself, whether it's to Joe, whether it's to this guy. I don't know.
Been big on tough love, kind of. You gotta be strong-minded a little bit. I mean, you can't just be like a weak person because then you just kind of crumble up and fall apart. You suck. It's fun. We have a good time with it.
So I've developed a stutter because I speak really fast when I talk sometimes because of Shane.
I'm gonna have to drive this baby.
Because like Shane always cuts me off, and so I talk faster, so he doesn't have time to cut me off.
So we get a long ass scene. I literally wrote on my notes, Shane looks old AF and nothing else. So I had to go and dig and see what the hell was going on in this scene. Nothing interesting. Well, honestly, from my perspective, one thing, like I mentioned, that does differentiate this a little bit from later iterations of Housewives is we get a lot more solo scenes of the men and the kids, which is like, I'm sorry, I personally don't really care. That's just my opinion. But yeah, we get a lot more of that, which is something we don't really get in the later series. Thank God. Except for rare occasions like...
This is what you need to do. You need to stay out of women's business. You are causing problems. You are the only husband, boyfriend, fiance that gets involved in women's business.
Yeah, a lot of the scenes that don't have the actual women in them, I'm sorry, but I'm not about to do that. Unless it's Slade, but that's just because I hate him. Anyway, Shane and his uncle go out drinking, and it's so fucking embarrassing to watch. I'm sorry, it is so fucking embarrassing. The dancing, the rubbing up, it's just the hitting on the girls. Ugh, I don't like it. And like I said, I don't enjoy when the men get too much screen time. I'm sorry. Like, women's stories matter. This does not matter to me. This does not matter to me. It's just not important. Moving on. So the episode ends with Vicki and Lauri talking about this insurance conference that they're going to, and they clearly have different priorities for the conference. Vicki's talking about, she's like, you know, it's a great opportunity to meet people. It's like she's very concerned about her #1 passion in life, selling insurance, and Lauri's more concerned about the nightlife aspect, the meeting men aspect, the networking in that sense. And it is a bit awkward, and you can sense a bit of tension because Lauri's Vicky's employee at the end of the day, and she's sort of getting worried that she's a bit apprehensive, as she says, about the fact that Lauri's priorities don't seem to really be where Vicky's are. And Vicky's like, it's kind of more than just nightlife and meeting men. Like, we're here to work.
Vicky's the best to work with. She's a mom, so she understands when I need to leave to take care of the kids.
Okay.
I've got to go get Sophie right now anyway, so...
Lori, we got so much to catch
I know,
up on.
just...
If Lori doesn't get it, I'm going to have to make some real hard decisions. I can't keep carrying her anymore, and she needs to get fired up.
So episode 3 starts with Vicky and Lauri in the home office at Vicky's house, and they're preparing for the $1 million convention. And she's feeling a bit inferior because she's like, Lauri's a beautiful girl. I want her to be successful, but like she does feel a bit inferior because Lauri's so pretty. So Lauri thinks it's a great idea to have someone come to the office/house and do Botox on them. Okay.
Lauri had told me that I need to get Botox, and she says, I do it all the time. I said, well, do I need it? She said, yes. Hello. And I'm a little nervous, but Lauri says it doesn't hurt very bad. It only hurts for like the first 10 minutes, and I'm gonna try it.
And this is actually Vicky's first time getting Botox. And also, nail moment, I love how much they love their like square acrylic nails. Square French tip acrylic nails, I should say. I've never had square nails. Don't look at them because I need a fill, actually. If you want me to get me a fill, I have PayPal. If you think I need a fill, I have PayPal. Sorry, I'm not going to do a close-up. But I've always been let's do it from back here. I've always been an oval/almond girly myself. I've never had square nails. So this has been making me, I literally had a dream once. When I was watching the show a lot, I had a dream that I got square French tip acrylic nails. And my nail lady was like, you never get square nails. And I was like, I know. And that's how I knew it was a dream.
Don't you love it, what we women go through?
I don't like it. I don't know if this is right.
In Orange County, people just don't grow old. So Botox is one of those avenues to stay that way.
And Vicky's kids are kind of looking on like, what the fuck is she doing? They're kind of embarrassed because she says they don't like when she tries to look too young. And Lauri says she doesn't want to look a day over 32. 32? Okay. And it is kind of crazy. Lauri said she's had it before. This is Vicky's first time, and obviously she's freaking the fuck out. But it's funny because Brianna says she's like, oh, it's totally weird. Like, I don't think it's normal to like paralyze your face. Like, I don't think that's healthy. And like, obviously there's people today that are anti-Botox, young people, but I feel like with like TikTok, there is this kind of attitude towards like Botox and filler that it's not just normal, but like expected. If you have the slightest little line on your face, you need Botox, like that type of thing. I feel like the cultural attitude has shifted towards it. Watching this, that they are kind of painting it as like, this is crazy and indulgent to care about your appearance this much. They are kind of like showing it from that perspective.
Okay. I'm hoping that if I look young and attractive at the conference in New Orleans, that it'll help me. Vicky's expecting big things of me, and I need all the help I can get.
Ugh. So next we get a really weird scene between Joe and Slade. Of course, like, when is it not fucking weird? But I digress. Where she talks about how she took his advice and went and she played tennis with Kimberly, went shopping, all that stuff. And she's talking about maybe working part-time because that's what Kimberly suggested. She's like, like, why don't you get a part-time job, fill your time, and you can still like play tennis, hang out, be a housewife, whatever. She's like, oh, that seems like a good idea. And Slade just kind of brushes her off. They're also drinking like actual literal goblets of red wine. They're drinking the biggest wine glass I've ever seen in my life. And Slade's in this fucking white bathrobe and he's like, are you happy though? She basically has to keep assuring him like, I am happy, I'm just like bored. But he doesn't seem to be hearing her, of course. And he's like, well, if you want to like go shopping and play tennis, and like I'll buy you a tennis skirt in every color and you can wear it around the house. And he's like, an ugly ass white bathrobe. You can tell like she's very much seeking a bit more fulfillment than walking around the house in a tennis skirt in every color.
I just want you to be happy, you know?
I'm happy. I'm happy. No, I'm happy. Honey, I'm happy. I'm just, there's bored and there's happy. I'm happy, but I'm just kind of bored.
I can't with Slade Smiley. I really can't. So we see Kimberly for a brief moment. She's talking about how she's going on a girls trip to Palm Springs, and that in Kodo, like the culture around like traveling without your spouse is like people do it all the time. Like going on girls trips is like just very normal. So she's leaving the kids with Scott.
He's a fabulous father. I'm sure Travis will talk him into too much Xbox and too many sweets, and I'll have to detox him from all that sugar when I get back.
Be good for Daddy, okay? All right. Bye. Have a great time. Mommy's gonna go party all night.
Bye.
Without lots of sugar, though.
And she does mention that like the kind of culture around like traveling without your spouse and traveling with your friends is very different in Kodo. Like people go on girls trips all the time, girls weekends, whereas like when they lived in Baltimore, they'd only really go traveling like as a family or like her and her husband, and even then like that still wasn't very often, which is a funny amount of like not necessarily intentional foreshadowing, because one staple trope of the Real Housewives is girls trips. Girls trips are the backbone of the show, dare I say. Girls trips are a fully functioning, fully alive and well plot device on the Real Housewives. Many a fight, many a drama, many a revelation. There's a whole fucking spin-off series of girls trip. So yeah, the culture around girls trips among the wealthy, very, very strong. Need God, I see what you've done for others. So Jeana's son Shane was drafted by the Oakland A's, as we saw, but 1,000 people were drafted before him, which is like not really, I don't know, I'm just saying what she said, not really ideal. I don't know much about sports. But they kind of expected something better, and she did mention that in the last episode. So Jeana says he's not actually going to play baseball. He's going to go and find a junior college and hopefully get more playing time for a better draft position next season. Again, I'm not a sports expert. Baby, this is my sports. Real Housewives is my sports, okay? Sorry if I get the terminology wrong.
We're going to Arizona with Shane, trying to decide on the college.
I want to check the dorms at first, because they're shitty. I'll just get an apartment or something.
You're staying in the dorm your freshman year.
Hell no.
You have to experience the college experience.
But yeah, this really seems to be like the out of town episode, because now Jeana, her husband, and then her sons, but not Cara, she's like, I don't need to go. You guys have fun. They're all going to go tour colleges in Arizona for Shane. So we're back to Slade. Yay! Everybody's so happy. We're back to him, and he's going to the equestrian center to ambush Brent, the guy from the meeting, with his kids. And he says, like sometimes you gotta, make big moves in business to try to land a big client. And if it requires me getting my whole family involved, then like so be it. This is actually something that I meant to mention a bit more of in his embarrassing meeting from episode 2, which was like, there's something kind of like non-linear about class, so to speak. And like, I like the way this show kind of comments on class in a really subtle way. Like if you pick up on it, it's there. Because Slade thinks that just by telling this guy like, oh, I have a house in Kodo, that like that's enough. Whereas this guy is like, you money. He's like, fuck you rich. Like that's not gonna impress him. And Slade thinks that like having this wife that stays at home, looks after the house, looks after the kids, whatever, is just another accomplishment. It's like another thing on his resume. It's like he wants a nice house, nice car, and like a doting hot wife, which is just like, so yeah, he just basically wants to go schmooze this guy and kind of show that like he can run with the big dogs, because that ultimately is like his driving force for everything. Is like he wants to be like the big man, the big businessman, like big house, hot wife, big checks, big fat checks, and like he wants to prove to this Brent guy that like he has that. He can run with the big dogs, like I've said. Like so he's showing up to the equestrian center acting like this is somewhere he comes all the time, like.
Slade, Smiley. Nice to see you. I think we had a meeting in your office.
That's right.
How you doing?
Pretty good.
Come here,
Small world.
Yeah, it is.
Do you live around here?
Yeah, I'm Slade.
Hi, Slade. I'm Cindy.
So they're at the equestrian center, and he's like, yeah, I should have brought my fiance. She really wants to get into riding horses and blah, 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 blah. And like the fuck of it all, the craziest part is that this weird plan he has works. And they're now going over, and he says, all the pressure's off me, so now the pressure's on Joe. And they're going over to Brent and his wife Cindy's house, which is a fucking compound, massive mansion, bigger, like huge, makes Slade and Joe's house look like literally a garage.
This is pretty.
It's pretty.
Honey?
Yeah, baby.
I feel really inadequate all of a sudden.
There you go.
This is like absolutely gorgeous.
Brent and Cindy are giving Joe and Slade a tour of this absolute compound they live on, and they're getting custom tiles from Italy hand-painted gold, same people who did Gianni Versace's pool. Like, that's the level of rich these people are. Crazy. Well, also, like, let's look at the timeline again and the, like, literal Majora's Mask moon economically that is about to come crashing down in, I don't know, 2008. So, like, maybe they might not be as rich come then. We can only hope. Again, I kind of wish I didn't have, like, a childlike concept of jobs, because I need to know what the fuck this guy does for work, because, like, the ceilings of their home theater that they even have, are painted by the same guy who painted the ceilings at Caesar's Palace. 24 karat gold in the pool. His wife, Cindy, she's getting cubic zirconium fucking rims on her raised ass Hummer truck. Like, what industry is this? And is it too late for me to join? Is it too late for me to get into it? Also, is it evil? I feel like I should have asked that first. Are they hiring?
And I'm like, why is there all this pretty white gate around everywhere? It was really bad. He's like, honey, it's an I didn't even know we had an equestrian center here.
We call these Joe-isms. There are certain things that are obvious to the common folk. And Joe's from Peru. Aww. So many things escape her.
And so Joe and Cindy are actually, like, really hitting it off. They're getting along. They're having great conversation, which is great for Slade. But then suddenly now he's calling her dumb. He's like, you know, we call these Joe-isms. And, like, basically kind of says, like, she's from Peru, which it's like, what does her being dumb have to do with her being from Peru? Also, what she said wasn't even really that dumb. He's so weird. I feel like I'm going to be so redundant and repetitive, because every single time he's on screen, I'm going to find a way to say he's fucking weird. Anyways. So Vicki and Lauri are leaving for the insurance conference in New Orleans, and they're both, it's funny, this literally is like the Home Alone, everybody's out of town episode, because Cara is at home. So we see Lauri, she's writing a list of rules for Ashley. She's saying, like, I don't want any parties at the house. You can have people over, but, like, no parties. I don't want anybody sleeping over. Like, it, and she's like, well, why not? Why can't I have anybody sleep over? And she's like, I don't want anybody in my fucking house, and there's just problems when that happens.
I don't want parties, and I don't want anybody to sleep over. Nobody sleeps over, okay? You promise?
Sure. Make sure Michael doesn't have anybody here with alcohol. I counted all the beers, I counted all the alcohol, no drinking. Okay. Can I trust you?
Yes. Also, when Lauri's telling Ashley no parties, you can kind of tell, like, as soon as Lauri leaves, Ashley's gonna have a party. Like, you can kind of tell she's just like, okay, yeah, like, nobody's sleeping over, like, okay, work. Like, you could tell she's already, like, she's texting her friends under the table being like, party at my mom's townhouse. Honestly, Brianna's probably not even planning on having a party. She probably just wants to, like, turn the TV on, not have Vicki, like, on her ass about something. So we get to New Orleans and we meet Vicki's sister Lisa, who also sells insurance, and Vicki says that they're really close. Lisa's like one of her best friends, and Lauri made the flight, but her luggage got lost, and she's like, you know, it just kind of sucks. And then we got to Vicki.
Lauri's luggage didn't arrive because Lauri didn't plan enough time. Our flight was at 7:20. At 7 o'clock, she's just arriving at the airport. She barely made the flight. I think she was the last person on, so therefore her luggage did not make it.
As if Lauri herself was loading the fucking bags on the plane. Vicki and her sister are staying at, like, this gorgeous, fancy, expensive hotel, and Lauri's staying at, in Vicki's words, a lesser hotel because she couldn't afford the more expensive one. And Vicki was like, I'm not gonna pay for her hotel, which is, like, understandable to an extent, but also, like, you could have, like, stayed at least at the same hotel as her, not leave her in fucking Silent Hill.
Great. Now the remote doesn't work. This is great.
So the keoughs go to look at schools. It's just a whole lot of nothing. Because they do not care about the school. Jeana literally is like, it could have been one teacher and a desk. If they had a good baseball team, then he was going there. And they were saying, like, the dorm rooms literally looked like he was going to the Marines. He's like, I have a king size bed at home. Like, this is nothing. It's ultimately just like, okay. Sometimes they show you shit that's not that interesting.
They went to Arizona because Chosen Child needs to go look at every possible JC that he could look at.
I think Shane is definitely going to be really interested in the criteria and the classes that he might be able to take.
Not. He wants to know the parties and the biatches.
So this is the part where I feel guilty for calling Kimberly boring, because she reveals that 9 years ago she had her third malignant melanoma, which is, like, crazy, and that the doctors told her she had 2 to 5 months to live, which obviously wasn't true because she's thank God, with us today. Still, she's still alive, don't worry.
And it was terrifying to go through. But facing that fear has really allowed me to have a much better attitude towards life. I live in the moment, I enjoy everything I do, and I'm not afraid of looking like a fool.
Which I do think is like a nice message. And like, I've had health issues, obviously not to that extent, but like it does kind of shift your perspective where it's like, wow, things really can change. So like if you're watching this, take care of your health, live your life, live your truth, because you just never know. You literally just never know.
I like going away with this group because we can get tipsy, we can let loose, we can have fun.
It's so romantic. Shall we make out?
Everybody's got a great sense of humor. Nobody takes it too seriously. And hey, when you're in a big group of blondes, you get a lot of attention.
When they go to the club, like, I know I say this probably every single time that they show a club, but I'm like, this would heal me. Like, going to this club with them would literally fucking heal me. And like, something that I also appreciate about Housewives, like, again, I could and probably will do an entire separate video on what I love about the show and kind of unpack it in the broader sense of like all the franchises that I've watched, at least. Seeing them have fun at the club, like, we don't really see on TV women of like this age bracket interacting with their friends and having fun. Like, if we see women of this age in their 40s or 50s on TV, like, they're somebody's mom. And that's like, that kind of sucks. Like, I don't know, like, you can still be young and lit in your 30s, 40s, and so on. And I know it sounds crazy to say that, like, in reference to Housewives, but like, I feel the same way when I watch Sex and the City. Like, oh, you can still be messy and fun in your 30s, in your 40s. Like, yes, God, thank you. We needed that. Life does not end when you're 23. Life does not end when you turn 24. And like, more people need to listen to that. More people need to hear that. More people need to watch Kimberly, Bryant, and her friends fucking queening out at the club, because that will heal a lot of their internal feelings about aging. Okay? So yeah, that is required viewing. Let me put the clip. Yeah.
I like to just flirt and have fun and dance and get crazy. And sometimes that's a little too much for people.
Did you see him? You missed it. Like, he had a Woody, didn't he? You went over there, and he was very sweet, but he couldn't help himself. And his wife was a really good sport.
She was.
About it.
Oh, she was very sweet. She was very sweet.
Yeah, they actually live in the gal. They're not behind the gates, but they're in the area.
Oh, okay.
So going back to Jeana and her family, her and Matt both kind of say that like there is sort of a sense of failure if Shane doesn't make the major leagues, not just because of like the generational thing in their family, but also because he can kind of pick up where Matt's career left off. And this is where we learn that Matt actually suffered like a really bad brain injury.
Shane can pick up where Matt left off. Matt's career was cut short.
92, I was with the California Angels. I was in the dugout getting ready to pitch. Was hit by a line drive from a foul ball and hit me in the side of the head, and I needed an emergency craniotomy to survive.
Before my dad got hit in the head, he was happy-go-lucky, really personable, liked everybody. He wanted to be around my dad. After the injury, it kind of switched.
Yeah, he's not very personable. He's kind of distant. And I do feel like that is kind of just like important to note. Just examining his family and his relationship with his family and his relationship with Jeana just moving forward. So just like put a little pin in that. So we see Ashley at home, who is clearly getting ready to have people over. She looks like a very much a time capsule. The straight hair, the highlights, the low-rise jeans, this queen. And it's kind of bleak because the phone rings and she picks it up and she immediately hangs it up. And her friend is like, what was that? And she was like, oh, and I quote, it was my brother calling from juvenile hall, but I hung up because that's kind of a bummer way to start the night. But obviously he calls back and then she does pick up and they have a little conversation.
Is it scary there? Are you staying out of trouble? Yeah. Are you winning?
Of course.
Love you too.
Tell Mom, love her.
Okay. Bye.
Ash, that was sad.
I know. Whatever.
Kind of awkward. But yeah, she's clearly about to have people over. She literally says, she's like, yeah, I'm about to have people over. Literally the one thing her mom told her not to do. And so back at the insurance conference, Lauri kind of starts to feel like maybe she doesn't have the same passion for insurance that everybody at this conference has, because she says, she's like, I got into selling insurance because I was desperate for money. I was fresh out of a divorce, single mom. I just needed a job. But like, I kind of feel like, am I really cut out for this? Like, can I support my family doing this? Which, like, fair. And then back at her house, lo and behold, Ashley's having a party. Who would have guessed? Literally, who would have guessed? Not I. And Ashley says that she didn't stick to most of the rules that her mom left. And then we see them like this party she's having, and it's just like a bunch of friends like drinking in her kitchen, which like a party's a party. And we see them and they're like having this little shindig get together, pouring like straight up fucking red 40 on on the list of rules that Lauri left, and she's like, oops, sorry mom. So we learned that Vicki is like actually the goat of selling insurance, because when she checked in and gave her name at the conference, she got a standing ovation. Like a bunch of people came over and were like shaking her hand and congratulating her, and were like actually gagged to meet her, and not gagged in the way of like I would be gagged because she's Vicki Gunvalson from the Real Housewives of Orange County. They're gagged because she's Vicki Gunvalson, the goat of insurance. Vicki Gagvalson, we love you. We learn a bit of like why she actually got into selling insurance and why she's so passionate about it. Because she says, she's like, I hope my dad is proud of me. I hope my dad is looking over me. And she says that like she got into the business because when her dad was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, they didn't have long-term care insurance. And her mom ended up spending all of their retirement money taking care of him. So obviously Vicki's passionate, and she is geared towards selling long-term care insurance. And Lauri actually says that she didn't realize that her and Vicki had such similar backstories, which unfortunately are probably really similar for a lot of people in America. Again, I don't know if I've already mentioned it, I'm famously Canadian, so if there's any like kind of cultural differences, such as when Shane Keough was driving around with that gun, there might be a few things I don't necessarily understand innately because of my Canadianness. But Lauri mentions that her and Vicki actually have a similar story because her dad had a massive stroke and it like decimated her family financially because they didn't have health insurance, which is just so sad. Like, it's just sad. Like, I just feel like it shouldn't ever cost that much. And obviously, like, with what's going on, and that's all I'll say, like, it's just...
Like Dad watching
Always,
progress.
always.
It says, my girls are doing it. He's up in heaven watching down and going, it's my girl. I taught her this. She's got it.
I didn't realize that Vicki and I had similar stories about our fathers. My father had a massive stroke, and with no health insurance, it decimated our family. I'm just really inspired. I'm so proud of you.
And we see them start to bond, not just over like their similar stories, but they go out drinking, they go out partying, and like their relationship is more than just strictly business, more than just working and selling insurance, which is just really nice. Like, I feel like kind of both of them needed that a little bit, and we as the viewers, we need that. I want the ladies to start interacting. Hurry, please hurry. You can't smell me, but... And to close out the episode, we have a big scene coming. Jo has gone out and got her dream job as a mortgage consultant, which, yay, us as the audience, yay, let's all celebrate. But you already know Slade's about to be the weirdest bitch of all time about this. And your assumption is right, because he is the weirdest bitch of all time about it.
Honey?
What?
I got a job today.
Why?
So Jo is obviously excited because she wanted to do this. She's like, when you first met me, you know, I was a new college grad. I went to a school that was known for having really smart and ambitious people, and I'm one of those people. So I wanted to have a career. I wanted to have a job. I always wanted to get into the real estate industry. I always wanted to work in mortgage. Like, and in addition to him just generally being really fucking weird and mean and like just generally acting like an asshole, because it's like, even if this was outside of your plan, you can't be happy for your fiance. You can't be like, oh, that's really great. Why didn't you discuss this with me? I don't know why I just tried to even play devil's advocate, because I don't even fucking agree with him. I think he's being weird. That is the long and short of it. He is being so fucking weird, and it's like every fight they have ultimately boils down to the fact that they are at two different places in their lives. Their priorities are not the same. Their goals, what they want in this moment, is just not the same. Whether it's just by their personality, whether it's through age, life experience, any of that. Because he can't even be happy for her for like 5 seconds. Literally, he immediately jumps into being like, okay, and you didn't discuss this with me? What about our family? What about our future as a family? Are you just going to go off and make decisions behind my back? And like, is just being so weird. I'm literally just going to insert a clip. There's only so much I can say without beating the dead horse that is calling Slade Smiley a weird bitch.
You're not building our future, you're building yours.
No, I'm building our future.
How so? Are you living your life for you, or are you not included in this family?
I don't know. I only started living today. I just got this job. Finally, I can choose what it is that I want, when I want, because I'm going to be making the money.
Okay, you go work on your stuff, I guess I'll work on my stuff, and I hope at some point we figure out how to connect back in the middle.
And she literally just tells him, she's like, you're so lame. Like, you're being so fucking lame right now. Which he is. He literally is being lame and weird and a bitch. Say it with me. Slade Smiley is being a weird bitch. Is it that serious? Because he's saying it was your idea to stay home and, you know, take care of the house. And that is my thing, is he keeps saying take care of the house, which is like as if the house is like a living, breathing, as if she lives in like the fucking haunted mansion. She lives in Monster House, whatever that movie is. Like, no. Like, especially because they have a gardener. He mentions in an episode, like maybe it's the next episode, we'll get to that. He mentions like, oh, there's a letter from the gardener. They have a gardener. I just don't understand what in the house needs taken care of. Also, like, things change. Like, her mind might change. It's not like she has a kid. That's the thing, is it's like, they're not our kids. This scene really bothers me. Like, really fucking bothers me. I'll just say that. Can you grab my balls, please? Sigmund Freud, and culturally, like, the golden age of, like, MILF. Her car got repossessed. Don't tell her to shut up, but she does kind of need to shut up. You're hosting a party and you don't know where your husband is. You know what, Slade? I will give you that. Lauri Happy Moments compilation just gained a new clip. Thank God.